Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of IBNW News. And today we got an update on the TD Jake situation. If you weren't tracking this before, I'll go ahead and give you just a little bit of background on what we were tracking. So long story short, this is a he said, she said argument. You have a few people coming out against TD Jake, specifically two people that are brothers. You have multiple people sign an affidavit in support of those people, and TD Jake's basically refuting what's going on. That's basically the bottom line of what's going on here. And the allegations against TD Jakes, if you did not watch our previous episodes on this, are very, very uh, condemning. They are not good accusations to have against you. Now, just as we talked about in the last episode, I want to predicate this by saying we don't know the answer here. So regardless, like me personally, I do not agree with a lot of what TD Jake says, specifically his theology, especially his wrong teaching, his false teaching on modalism, which is basically a denial of how we would see the Trinity. This was something that was fought against all the way back in Tertullian's day. You can go back into the 2nd century and see arguments against modalism. It's a belief where God operates in different modes as opposed to just the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit traditionally that we know it, 3 different persons, co-equal, God, all that stuff. We're not going to get into that today, as that's not what this is about. But like I said, I do not prefer him as a teacher whatsoever. But even though that is the case, we have to be fair in when it comes to receiving allegations against somebody. We can't, just because we don't like their theology, go ahead and say, yeah, absolutely, he's completely wrong. So I want to predicate that on this, that this is a lot of he said, she said. Like I said, you have multiple people coming against him and then him basically denying it. I want to go ahead and get that out there before we go in. And just because I love laying everything out on a biblical foundation, a couple Bible verses I want to go into before we start reading this and kind of digging into what is the, quote unquote meat and potatoes of this article. And it's really a message for both sides. Number one, Proverbs chapter 19, verse 5. It says, a false witness will not go unpunished, and he who tells lies will not escape. If somebody is lying in this situation, which obviously somebody is, where's the truth at? They can't both be telling the truth. But if somebody is bearing a false witness, that is not going to go unpunished. And he who tells lies will not escape. I wouldn't want to stand before God as somebody who is slandering somebody else's name. Even once again, if let's just say TD Jakes, I don't agree with his theology, I'm not going to go out here and slander him and make lies about what he did and did not do. We should not do that. At the same time, if these men are not telling lies and TD Jakes is coming out and suing them in this defamation lawsuit, which he is, same thing. This false witness will not go unpunished. Where's the truth? God only knows. And in due time, as the process goes out, maybe we will know as well. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 5. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who tells lies will not escape. Another passage I want to go to is Romans chapter 12, verse 19. And this one's maybe more so for the TD Jake side, and really a good message for all of us as Christians. Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. We as Christians should not be out to get vengeance on other people, as hard as that may be. We should not be out getting vengeance on people. We should be letting the Lord take care of that, and this will unravel itself all in due time, putting our faith and our trust in the Lord. If you did not know what's going on, once again, 2 men specifically accusing TD Jakes of committing essay against them. Multiple people have signed that sworn affidavit saying that these words are true. TD Jakes, in response, is suing, or a defamation lawsuit, towards these people. What happened was, when this defamation lawsuit first came out, there was a motion by something in Pennsylvania where that came out to basically dismiss it, saying there was no grounds for this defamation lawsuit. Jakes doubled down back on it. Let's go ahead and check this out. And before we do, let's jump over to a couple of comments here. Pathway to Truth jumps on and says, according to Proverbs, God hates someone who is a false witness. Yeah, that is definitely in there too. It would have been a great verse to bring up. Faith and Photo says, would be fascinating to interview each of the parties involved in this one to observe them carefully for signs of deception. Sorry, it's the cop in me. No, and 100%. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's a he said, she said. While there's multiple different people involved in this, multiple different, quote unquote witnesses, we don't know the truth until evidence is brought forth to the contrary. And like I said, I want to predicate all this. I know a lot of people really, and I'll probably get it again. A lot of people came out in defense of TD Jakes in the last video. Not a majority, but enough to where it was making a lot of noise in comments, and especially didn't like my talking about the Trinity, which I don't understand. The Trinity has been something that has been defined in the Bible, and then once again defended all throughout church history. Like I said, you can go back as early as the 150s AD, 200s. You'll see people defending the Trinity. Specifically, you got Tertullian in the 200s fighting modalism, what TD Jakes believes in, which many people take modalism as a heresy. But I digress, as that's not what this is about. Let's go ahead and jump in on this. So it says here, megachurch pastor, and this article does come, by the way, from the Christian Post. It's written by Leonardo Blair, and the headline is TD Jakes denies claims he harbored carnal desires for men in defense of defamation lawsuit. It says here, megachurch pastor TD Jakes has formally denied allegations that he essayed former pastor Dwayne Youngblood when he was a teenager, or his older brother, Pastor Richard Enwood Youngblood, in a legal response to a motion seeking to dismiss a defamation lawsuit. That's what we talked about last time. Just a reminder that because it needs to be known that the first Youngblood was somebody who has been convicted as a PDF file, if I can put that in a more polite term. He has been convicted. He has served time over that and has had multiple offenses in that. Some people would say that comes to discredit his word. We'll let the facts speak whenever they do come out. Let's go ahead and keep reading. It says here, calling the claims an orchestrated, this is what TD Jakes says, he calls the claims an orchestrated campaign of lies in a failed attempt to extort $6 million from him. In the 562-page response, that is a lot of words. I don't know how much he's paying his lawyers for this, but in a 562-page response was filed Friday in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania and reviewed by the Christian Post, which is who's writing this article. Jakes and his three high-profile attorneys, and I'm not even going to begin to say their names, but he's got three high-profile guys. I'm sure these dudes are not cheap to have in your corner. They aggressively challenged the credibility of his accusers who sought to dismiss his defamation lawsuit pursuant to Pennsylvania's anti-SLAPP statute last month. The anti-SLAPP is that statute that was placed in by Governor Shapiro over there, which was basically a way to dismiss a defamation lawsuit if there was no grounds for that defamation. TD Jakes is fighting back against that. The filing includes an 8-page affidavit from Jakes, who declares under penalty of perjury that the claims he made against him by the Youngblood brothers and multiple John Does, because there were multiple other people that signed that affidavit, are malicious lies. Quote, I have reviewed the affidavits of Dwayne Youngblood and Richard Youngblood submitted in support of the motion to dismiss. The statements in these affidavits purport to describe situations where I harbored carnal desires for these men. These statements are knowingly and flagrantly false. Jakes, who founded the 80,000 member Potter House in Dallas, Texas, states in the affidavit. He says here, quote, I am repulsed by these defamatory accusations and the $6 million extortion letter I received from Dwayne Youngblood's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn. In the 167-page motion to dismiss the lawsuit, Richard Youngblood claims that similar to his younger brother's experience, Jake also tried to essay him years ago while he shared a hotel room with the bishop during a ministry trip. And that's what we talked about in the last episode. I'm not going to rehash any more of that up. Once I just don't even feel like reading it because it's disgusting to me. And then two, you can go ahead and read it for yourself here on the Christian Post. Others who have made sworn affidavits in support of Dwayne Youngblood's claims are Jeffrey S. Gray, who also shared in Dwayne Youngblood's disclosure about Jakes, Daniel B. Spalding, LaShawn Youngblood, Joshua Munoz, and Landon Claiborne. In addition to his previous claim, Dwayne Youngblood also alleges in the motion, since he has gone public, Jakes and his associates, quote, have engaged in retaliatory conduct to silence him. According to the motion, Dwayne Youngblood receiving threats from individuals associated with plaintiff, including his son. Jakes insists that he is making the unprecedented move to defend himself legally because of the quote lies propagated by his critics and because he is tired of turning the other cheek. Now, this is where I get into my biblical argument about this. He is tired of turning the other cheek. Now, obviously, turning the other cheek, when Jesus spoke about this in the Bible, it can be viewed as hyperbole. Should a Christian always turn their cheek in every situation? If someone has a gun to your family's head and is beating the junk out of you, should you just sit there and take it? I mean, absolutely not. Self-defense is a biblical thing. There are multiple times where you can look through the Bible to see that self-defense is necessary. At the same time, if this is a loss, these are just baseless rumors against TD Jakes, there's no truth to them whatsoever. Personally, I would let it go. Now, granted, I'm not a legal person. I don't know all the legalities around it and whatnot. If it went to court or something, the only thing I would ask for them to pay were all the lawyer fees and whatever this is done, because I just don't think the Christian thing to do is continue taking people to court over and over and over again. Paul talks about that in 1 Corinthians chapter 5 and 6. Now, with that being said, that's why I bring up Romans chapter 12, verse 19. Don't take your own revenge, beloved. Leave room for the wrath of God. Now, at the same time, is he wrong in doing this? You can go ahead and debate amongst yourselves with that. I'm not going to sit here and say there's a definite answer, but I just don't like that term, that tired of turning the other cheek. It says here, for years, I have been counseled to ignore the constant stream of low-level smears against my reputation. So if they're low-level smears, I just don't see how they're, why are they affecting you if it's not true? Not saying it is true. It's just, you got to let stuff roll off your back. He said, however, the emotional and physical toll of this coordinated campaign of lies designed to damage my reputation and legacy has become overwhelming, he explains. And which, if you did not know, TD Jakes did recently collapse while he was on stage. I believe he had a type of a stroke or something like that, which is very tragic and sad. You never want people to ever do that. I don't ever want to see that. I don't care if it's my worst enemy or somebody I disagree with theologically. Wouldn't want to see that happen. He goes on to say, the pain that it has caused my wife of 43 years and my 5 children, whom I've always loved, nurtured, provided for, is simply too much to bear. Every person has a breaking point. I have reached mine. I authorized this lawsuit because I can no longer remain silent, he adds. Jake, who is 68, filed the defamation lawsuit against the 58-year-old Dwayne Youngblood last November, a day after he suffered a slight health incident, which he said almost killed him while preaching. Dwayne Youngblood claimed in interviews with internet personality Larry Reed on his Larry Reed live show on 28 October and 3 November 2024 that Jakes assaulted him when he was about 18 or 19 years old. The younger brother told Reed that he had been talking with Jakes for about 2 hours at the home of an older adult clergywoman where he was staying during a local church revival approximately 40 years ago when Jakes tried to kiss him. And once again, we went over that in the very first time that we went over this. We go ahead and move over to a couple comments to see, and I see different people are jumping on. Hey, what's going on? Hope y'all doing well. Mother Sandy comes in, and Mother Sandy, I believe new to the channel, welcome, says, why was Jakes smiling so hard at that exotic police officer dancer behind? I'm not sure what you're referring to as he was dancing. Why was he so often seen with Diddy talking about the rapper, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, goes by a bunch of different names, Sean Combs, allegedly, but I saw the video and so did many others see it. I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know if I saw the video, but I think I saw rumblings about it on social media. I don't know. I really don't. Like I said, there is a lot of smoke around TD Jakes. And I know a lot of people say where there is smoke, there is fire, but we need to make sure that we do identify the fire to ensure that's where that smoke is coming from. I want to be 100% fair down the board. Like I said, I do not agree with TD Jakes' theology. I think he does very bad things to the body of Christ with his bad teachings, his false teachings. But at the same time, I'm not going to accuse somebody of something that they did not do. We wait for the evidence to come out. Susie Q agrees with Mother Sandy, says, exactly, Sandy. He doesn't want us to trust what we have seen. Very, very true. Says here the morning after the encounter, Youngblood, who is now a registered, just like we talked about, sex offender, served time for abusing minors while he was serving as their pastor's disgusting. So sick. Alleges Jakes called his home and intimidated that he wanted him to become a local sex partner. It goes on deep into that. Like I said, we covered a lot of this the very, very first time we covered this. Uh, it's just sick. Days after making those allegations publicly, Jake's attorney said an attorney representing Youngblood sent a demand letter to him on November 24th, 2024, demanding $6 million to resolve this matter quickly and privately. Otherwise, Youngblood would bring a lawsuit against Bishop Jakes for SA and harassment. By the way, that's my kid crying out there. If you hear him, his mother's with him, so do not worry. Jakes argues in his February 14th affidavit that he could barely afford to financially support himself and his family around the time that Dwayne Youngblood claimed he offered to pay him for exclusive sexual favors. Jakes contends that it does not make sense why he would offer financial support to financially support a young man in exchange for those sexual favors. His assertion is not only ludicrous, but a bold-faced lie or a bald-faced lie. To be clear, while I occasionally traveled to Pennsylvania around 1986 to preach at the area churches that were a part of the Greater Emmanuel International Fellowship Network, I never tried to corner, grab, or kiss any teenagers, Jake insists. I never phoned Dwayne Youngblood to proposition him for sex in exchange for financial support, and I never groomed, essayed, or essayed the other essay and engaged in predatory conduct of a sexual nature towards Dwayne Youngblood. I never apologized to Youngblood for any such conduct because it did not happen. Jake claimed that Richard Youngblood is simply trying to get revenge because he refused to give him a job for which he was unqualified. And then goes into, once again, everything that we kind of already covered once. And then Jakes came out with this. He says, "This unwarranted stress brought me to a place of having a health crisis on stage in front of my entire congregation. As a guy who had no previous health challenges, this near-death experience was a turning point for me. Enough is enough." That is what Jake said. So, taking a couple comments, Susie Q says, "At a minimum, his theology is awful. It's leading people to hell. He needs to stop preaching for that alone. If he assaulted people, he should be charged." Exactly. You're 100% right. And all we can do is just pray to God that the truth in this situation is found out. Regardless, I do believe, and I've said it plenty of times, I'm going to keep saying it again. I don't think TD Jakes is a good teacher. I think he's a bad teacher. In fact, you can put him in that category of false teacher, uh, between how he propagates NAR. At one time, he propagated a lot of the prosperity gospel. He claimed he repented from that. I haven't uh, done any digging to see to the contrary if that is true or has changed. But like I said, I don't think he should be preaching, period. I don't believe he's qualified. That's my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. Faith and Photo says, "Sure looks like a lot of smoke. I'm wondering if there are flames under here somewhere." And we never know. And once again, all we could do is pray for God to bring the truth out of this situation, whichever it is. Susie says, "I'm so sorry, but it's hard to believe that man of his age and weight and has no underlying health conditions." And I shouldn't laugh at that, but it is, kind of true. Uh, you got to take care of yourself. And this can get me down a really dangerous road. I don't know if I want to go there. As Christians, we need to take care of our bodies. I'm going to say that in the nicest way possible. I think it's a good testimony for a Christian to take care of themselves, take care of their bodies. Okay. Well, with all that being said, I did want to pop over to TD Jake's Twitter real quick and just see if he has anything that he really is saying on this besides what was pushed out. I did watch this video. There was nothing really in it. He was mostly talking about how people don't want to walk with you through the shadows, but they love walking with you through the light. Um, I, I mean, not really much else is going on there. Once again, you do see a lot of his new apostolic reformation stuff in there. Tonight it's happening. I'm back in the pulpit at the Potter's house with a word of faith that will shift your season. Shift your season. That's very key NAR type language right there. Expect a word that breaks cycles, restores faiths, and renews purpose. Um, once again, this isn't about my theological differences with TD Jakes. All we can do is pray to God that the truth comes out. And That way we know, hey, what's real, what's not real. Because no matter how much you don't like somebody's theology, you shouldn't be making false accusations against them. And hey, if you ended up doing it, you should make sure that you are not lying in defense of yourself and saying, "Hey, look, I never did this," when really you did. We don't know the answer. We don't know the truth. And we shouldn't be making false accusations claiming that we know otherwise, unless you're somebody very intimate to the story that hasn't popped up yet. All we can do is wait and see for God to reveal the truth in the matter. That's all that we can do. All right, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and get off here. This is a short one. I am still getting over being sick. Appreciate y'all's patience and everything. My voice is not 100% yet. I was running like a 103 and had to quarantine myself off so that way my little baby son did not get sick or anything like that. Oh, hey, Lisa Johnson's on. Finally caught alive. Glad to see you on, Lisa. Glad to see you on. Sorry you just popped in at the end of it. Usually we stay on a lot longer, but like I said, I am still not 100%. And yeah, it's just bleh. It's that time of the year. Craziness. I get the flu shot every year, and go figure. This is the first time I get the flu in like a while. I've actually been sick twice this year, uh, which is crazy. I haven't been sick, I think, in the last 5 years. I got COVID like way back in the day when COVID was like a thing, like in 2020. And then I hadn't been sick since then. And some reason, this whole year, like November, and then now, I caught the flu. Don't know what's going on. But I appreciate all the prayers for everything. I love y'all. And once again, stay biblical, stay sound. Appreciate every single one of y'all. And I'll talk to y'all on the next one.